So I needed help and I somehow talked myself out of getting it. And I feel like this is something that many of us can relate to. I allowed the worst case scenarios to play in my head and just roam around there until I did not go and get the help that I needed. And it turned into something bigger than it needed to be. So, welcome to Grace for the Journey. I'm Sharonda, and I'm glad to have you here. If you missed my last video, I suggest you go and watch it because this is going to be a part two of what I learned from that experience. In fact, that experience taught me so much. I think we're up to like a part five or like a six part series. So for the context for this video, I'll just give you a little bit of backstory. I needed some tooth work done and it has been an ongoing issue. And I just kept putting life in front of it. I kept putting people like my children, I kept putting other priorities in front of going to deal with that issue. And I convinced myself that it was because of finances, it was because of time. I just made up every excuse in my head until I actually began to believe it. And so what had happened was I started to feel pain in various areas of my mouth. And it started off very small. It started off at like one area. And over time, I was convinced that I was gonna go to the dentist and leave with full-on dentures. I felt like there was issues that was happening with all of my teeth. That's how bad the pain had gotten. But some days the pain will be really bad and then it'll get better and I forget about it. I just kept on moving on with life. It wasn't urgent anymore. It was only urgent when the pain level began to rise. But whenever it subsided, I'll just brush it aside once again and leave it alone and go about my daily life until I couldn't anymore. And I finally got that issue dealt with. And the one thing that has caused me to have so much new understanding about myself, about the body, about this thing we do when we don't want to deal with the issue. One of the things that I learned from this experience is that it was one tooth. It was a simple fix. It was something that could have been dealt with a long time ago. The issue really was I had a wisdom tooth that grew in and I didn't even know, and it was causing the worst issues ever. But I did not feel any pain, or let me rephrase, I felt minor issues once in a while with that back tooth. I was feeling issues other places. What is the sensible thing to go and do? Go and get it checked out so that a professional can deal with it or at least tell you how to deal with it, come up with a plan, let you know. It's better to know, at least so you know what you're working with. An example comes to mind. Sometimes we're afraid of even like facing our finances, maybe, and you feel like there's so many bills, but it's not until you write it down you can see what exactly do I owe, how much exactly do I make, and so you can come up with an actual budget. But it's scary dealing with the unknown. So for me, the simple thing would have been to just go in, check it out, and then make a plan for whatever the issue was and whatever needed to be fixed. But I allowed fear to settle in and it literally crippled me in that area. And I could have dealt with this thing a long time ago. So, like I said, I learned a few different lessons, many lessons during that experience. And the one I want to talk about today is fear. Fear has a way of magnifying the situation. And I touched on it a little bit in the last episode, but I'll go a little bit deeper here. But fear has a way of making things seem way worse than they are and way worse than they need to be. Fear told me that this was going to be a complicated teeth, a complicated mouth issue, that this is going to be expensive. There were multiple teeth. Everything Fear told me was completely wrong. Everything I allowed Fear to say to me was it was not the case. Of course, I wasn't there for a little while they explained everything and the numbing and all of that. But the procedure itself, probably 15 minutes, and instant relief from all of that stress and all that drama it was literally causing me that tooth pain whenever it came about. It was restricting me from doing what I needed to do sometimes. That's how debilitating the pain had gotten. And isn't that life? Isn't that what happens? We know that there's an issue. But sometimes we are afraid if we address the issue, what is going to come up from the surface? What is going to happen? Am I going to lose some people? Am I going to have to pay some prices? I'm sure that there are some things that are going to happen. I'm sure there are some changes that probably will have to be made when we address situations. But I guarantee you, the thoughts that you're having towards the situation is more than likely way bigger and way more drastic than what it will look like if you actually address the situation. The funny thing to this is, I thought that going into the dentist was going to be so expensive, like I said, because I thought it was multiple teeth, and I avoided. You know what it ended up costing me? It did end up being expensive, but not because of the issue. Getting that extraction was the cheapest part of my entire process and the entire process going forward. Because and this might be TMI, but I'm just going to say it like it is. But because I took so long to go in, I also avoided my, regular cleanings. You're supposed to be in there minimum like twice a year to get your regular cleanings. And because I had skipped a few of those, my regular cleaning now turned into a deeper cleaning that's needed. And that would have been avoided had I gone in, but I thought the expense of what I thought was the issue was going to be so great that it ended up being more of an expense and a bigger issue because I avoided it. And how many of us are going through that same type of situation where we know that something's wrong? Maybe there was an actual incident that happened, a loss of some kind or some type of trauma that you can name it, but you're avoiding dealing with it because fear is telling you that it's going to just be too hard to deal with. Fear is telling you, how will I feel after this? I'm not going to have anybody to go through this with me. I can't afford this. What is going to happen after I bring this out from under the dirt? Like, fear is probably telling you the worst case scenarios. And how many of us are dealing with certain situations that we know it is causing more pain. We know it's going to be more expensive in the long run. We know that this is something that is literally holding us back, but we are allowing that voice of fear to be bigger than the voice of reason. We're allowing fear to not even want us to go and see what the problem is. And this issue spans into so many different areas. Of course, we talk a lot about emotional healing on this platform, but remember, grief is not just of an emotional thing. Trauma is not just an emotional thing. These are physiological issues. These are things that when we don't deal with them, they end up taking root into places in our body. And there's so many studies that have been done about this. And I also touched on this on the last episode, where our bodies are just meant to be in flight and fight or flight mode for just a short period of time. And when we have unnecessary stress and chronic stress and added issues and just things that pile up on top of each other that we can't handle, we don't have enough capacity to handle in that moment, and we don't handle, it finds a pocket to be stored in your body. It finds a place to go. And for some people, that has turned into physical ailments. So, like muscle tension, headaches, pains, neck pains, and for some people, the physical ailments it affects their health directly. So again, it affects their organs. So they have stomach issues, they have heart issues, breathing issues. There are so many different ways that your situation could become worse if you allow fear to tell you that you can't deal with it. If you allow fear to tell you that, nope, you're just too broken to handle it and it is bigger. It is too big for you. It is too big for anybody to help you with. It is too big of a issue to deal with. And you're right. It may be a really big issue. It may be a huge issue for you to handle. It may be too big for you to comprehend how to deal with it. But what did I have to do? I had to go to the professional. In my mind, I told you I thought I was walking out there with dentures. But because I went to the professional, she was able to, before she even did a full on like physical exam and all of that, she was able to look at that x-ray and say, that is the cause of all of the things that you're experiencing. That is the cost of all this radiating pain that you thought was actual pain that you're experiencing. And I was trying to battle with her. I'm like, no, 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 I'm telling you that the pain is here and here and all these different places. She's like, no, that's the reason. And she just obliged with me. She's like, you know what, we'll take it out. And if you still feel pain after, then we'll deal with it. But she knew because she was a professional and she was equipped to handle it. Maybe what you're dealing with, you actually need help. Maybe you need a friend. Maybe you need a professional. Maybe it's something that only the Heavenly Father can help you with. Whatever it is, if it feels too big for you, there's somebody that knows how to address it. There's somebody that knows exactly what is happening. And there's somebody that can help you with it. Do not allow fear to stop you from getting help. Do not allow fear from causing you to see what is on the other side of what you think is this huge problem. I spoke about finances earlier, and I've been in that situation before where it's just like everything feels so overwhelming. Like, how am I going to manage all these things? And then you go to someone who's better at finances, you go to a financial consultant, and they're like, oh, if you just move this, this, and that, it'll be fine. The issue is this, or the issue is that. Oh, if you just use this program, you can see it better, you can manage it better. There is somebody equipped to deal with your problem. Do not allow fear to stop you from finding them. So I want to challenge you to push past that fear. I want to challenge you to go and face the problem. If you need someone to go and hold your hand with you or something that you can do by yourself. And one of the practical ways that one of my mentors had helped me with when things just felt so overwhelming and something that I can handle. When the thought of the worst case scenarios did come, when those thoughts felt so big, I would advise to sit with it and actually process it. You know what? Okay, so what is the worst case scenario in this situation? And I had to do this before I actually went to the dentist, believe it or not. So I sat with it. Worst case scenario, all these teeth got to come out. Okay, what happens if they got to come out? All right, then I gonna need dentures or I will need some type of implant. Okay, that's gonna cost a lot of money. Okay, worst case scenario. Did I have the money? Probably not, but at least I worked it out what the worst case would look like. And I sat with it. Didn't accept it, didn't plan for it, but at least I just knew this is the worst case scenario. And that's one of the things that can help us to deal with this irrational fear because it's like these bombarding thoughts that just keep coming and keep coming and keep coming. So I'm going to challenge you today to face the fear front on, whether that's physical pain, emotional pain, whatever type of pain you're dealing with, whatever type of doctor you need to see, whichever type of professional you need to see. It might not even be a doctor, whatever type of professional. There is somebody that has the answer for you. There is somebody that knows more about your area of challenge than you do. At least seek them out, see what they say, hear them out. And if it is a really big situation like you're thinking, I promise you that they can come up with a plan. Back to my dentist story. So when I went in there, they gave me all these options. Okay, this is how much it's going to cost. You can either pay this up front, you can pay this payment plan. Like, I didn't expect all of that. You would be surprised of how things can work in your favor when you actually decide to address it, when you are intentionally healing and intentionally getting better in different areas of your life, when you are intentional about your progress, when you're intentional about getting better and doing better, you'll be surprised how many opportunities and open doors are there for you. It's just that you don't know about it yet. So like I said, this is going to be a few more different aspects that we're going to touch based on the lessons I've learned from this experience. If this has blessed you in any way, let me know in the comments. How has fear gripped you before? How are you willing to move forward from that? And are you willing to move forward from that? Go ahead and give this video a like, share this with somebody that you know is going to be a blessing to, and make sure you're subscribed so you can catch part 3 of this series that I am sharing with you guys. Go on and have yourself a wonderful day. See you next time. Love you. Bye.